Good morning, class. This morning I'd like to talk to you about preventing veterans suicide. And I'd like to start off with a little story from American history. And back in June the 25th, 1875, General George Armstrong Custer was huddled with half of his regiment on a small hill overlooking the Little Bighorn River in a large Indian village. And as Custer was huddled behind dead horses and clumps of sagebrush, the Indians continued to gather. More and more Indians were joining the battle all the time. And Custer, 2 years before, had written a book entitled My Life on the Plains. It was all about fighting Indians, so Custer knew what was coming next. Anyway, hundreds of Indians began to gather and attack the cavalry position. Finally, there was a lull in the fighting, and the Indians gathered in one particular place, and then suddenly they burst into the cavalry positions, shooting their rifles and firing their bows and arrows. And several of the cavalrymen, sensing that the end was near, ended their own lives. They shot themselves. The Indians were just completely baffled by this, and even several generations later, when the historian Stephen Ambrose was gathering material for his book Crazy Horse and Custer, he interviewed the descendants of Crazy Horse, and the Indians quickly told him about the cavalrymen shooting themselves. They didn't understand that. They were baffled by it. To understand that, you need to go back 2 months before that major battle. Custer was leading his regiment on a reconnaissance, and they discovered an Indian teepee. Inside was a cavalryman hanging upside down over a low smoldering fire. And the cavalryman had his nose and his ears cut off and large chunks cut out of his muscles. And most of the cavalrymen that saw that vowed that they would never be taken alive, that they would not want to meet this fate. And so that explains why they were committing suicide as the Indians charged in. Today we understand why Custer's men committed suicide, but the problem of finding out why veterans commit suicide today is still difficult to determine. However, in the latest edition of Psychology Today, there is an article about a survey that helps doctors, helps healthcare people determine if the person is suffering from post-traumatic stress. This survey form is used by the Navy, and as men depart on ships or they arrive home on ships, they're given this survey, and it is a strong indicator of the symptoms of PTSD. This is a bright spot in the effort to solve the issue of veteran suicides, and so it will be interesting to see if the daily rate starts to come down. Anyway, thank you very much for your attention, and look forward to seeing you in class.